And I want to kind of like correct myself almost in that intro because we said healed from, and we were just
Right.
talking, is anyone truly healed from anything? And are we always healing? Is it your kind of understanding now that you've been through chronic disease that you will always be on a healing journey?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Always on this healing journey. And I take it day by day. And there are good days and there are bad days. And very much have learned that healing is not a linear path, and that, it is a life's work and mission. And that is why I am so, have my routine of the way that I eat and the things that I do physically, meditation. I have all of these rituals and routines that I do to keep me feeling as best as I possibly can throughout this journey. And I know it is a lifestyle at this point, and it will carry me through.
Well, that's where I want to kind of like hit a lot on today. You're doing amazing work in the health and wellness space, but I want to bring that truthful aspect that, disease can happen to anyone regardless. In a sense, it's not this sort of, oh, I was in a terrible state and then that's why it happened, or, it's just something that happens to everyone also. That's not a truthful statement. But if we could go back to 2013 for you, where this sort of
Hmm.
started, and you could kind of break down where you started to find these issues with your health and what that journey was like when it started.
Yeah, absolutely. 2013, I was at my worst.
Mm,
I was having chronic sinus infections and upper respiratory infections, terrible ringing in my ears, fatigue that was, and as you and I said earlier, sleeping 11, 12 hours and still feeling exhausted. My eyes would be swollen. I was having terrible GI issues. My stomach, I looked like I swallowed a basketball. I was having rashes up my side. I was also being pumped with antibiotics and steroids.
mhm,
I was, chasing all of these symptoms. I was also having migraines and seeing a neurologist for that. Um, and certainly every ENT I saw was, I was truly on antibiotics once a month
hmm,
and steroid injections and a taper of prednisone pills as well. And so then I had candida, so I was also
mm,
dealing with those issues and was really chasing this vicious cycle and going to multiple doctors, and yet no one was really talking to each other. Like my general care wasn't talking to my neurologist, it was talking to my ENT. So I was kind of seeking out all of these symptoms separately.
yeah,
And granted, my white blood cell count was really low, and I had doctors tell me they thought that I had leukemia.
mm,
I had plenty of doctors tell me that I was crazy and it was in my head and I needed to go on antidepressants. And when that was said, I would often cry
yeah,
and cry out of frustration more than I was crying out of depression. And then of course they were like, see, you need to go, you're depressed and you need to go on antidepressants. And I will say at one point during this journey, I went on Wellbutrin for 6 months, and it helped, cut the desperation that I was living with, because I truly was like, I can't live like this. It was awful. I, was a very healthy person. I was doing triathlons. I was personal training. I was fitness modeling at the time and was doing backflips in magazines. And like, I was supposed to be this picture of health. And quietly on the inside, I felt like dying. Like it was so awful and so hard. And so I will say the Wellbutrin helped with
mhm.
like that piece, but I was still sick. And after 6 months of being on it and feeling like it certainly numbed my personality, I was like, okay, like I'm still sick. I'm a little happier or less stressed about what's going on. I did wean myself off of the Wellbutrin and very much had this mission to figure out what was wrong with me. I will say I opened many credit cards and saw many doctors that didn't take insurance, because I just knew I wasn't crazy. I knew there was something wrong with me, and I knew there had to be an answer, and I was hell bent on finding it. So when I finally got diagnosed with Lyme, I remember I felt like it was this huge relief, like, wow, I'm not crazy. I have Lyme disease. Granted, yes, I had like crazy candida issues as well. from all the antibiotics. But then I was put on more antibiotics for 9 months,
Right.
which really didn't help. But I realized quickly with that Lyme disease diagnosis, like I thought, wow, like, okay, I have Lyme, there's a diagnosis and there's a treatment and there's a cure and I'm going to feel better. And I quickly realized that wasn't necessarily true, that, healing from Lyme is so different for everyone, and I truly believe I had it. I was hospitalized as a kid. We had a Christmas tree farm, so we had ticks on us all the time. My father had Lyme at one point. So, and I was hospitalized for 2 weeks as a kid. And I did have bouts of fatigue in high school and college. And as I got older, and bringing us back to 2013, it was just a multitude of symptoms that were, finally catching up with each other and then all really being present at once. And so getting to that place and, again, feeling like I had this answer with Lyme it was helpful in that I knew it wasn't crazy. And again, I had enough doctors say to me that I was. And so it was nice to feel like, wow, like, okay, I'm not insane. I didn't make this up. I didn't cause this illness myself. And then started really on a whole new life in healing from Lyme. And currently where I am today. And I credit a lot of those changes to feeling better and being able to maintain feeling well. And like you and I spoke before too, like I've currently had some things happen that I have been feeling off and have, been feeling more tired than I would like to be. And like we said, it's kind of this never ending process. It's a life's journey of healing when you have chronic illness. But I do still, even in the moments where I don't feel well, I always come back to my nutrition. I always come back to my meditation. Those are the things that give me hope. And I have to constantly remind myself that this is just a window in time and that I will get through this. And it was also so much worse in 2013 that, I'm grateful even on the days I don't feel well that I still feel better than I did, thanks to the things I implement in my life every single day.
Kim, when I listen to that, I hear, of course, your own personal story, but I hear so many Lyme disease patient stories. And I will say, like, Lyme journey is this one of education and truly understanding a lot of things that you wouldn't unless you actually went through it. That
Yeah.
idea of going to so many doctors who are the experts, who know what they're
Hmm.
talking about, who you should listen to, and then telling you it's in your head, right? And just being
Hmm.
like, wow, this is just painful to hear that. I've heard
Yeah.
that from so many people, and it is such a frustrating thing for so many patients to be like, I know something's wrong. I know
Yeah.
this isn't in my head. I was a healthy person. This isn't normal. And yet it's sort of, you go from doctor to doctor to doctor, and you get
Yeah.
so desperate sometimes, I hear from these Lyme patients, and
Yeah.
it really makes you take things into your own hands. You have to become
Absolutely.
your own best advocate, and the journey then is, how do I do that? And you just start researching.